Imagine standing on the brink of greatness, with a kingdom handed to you on a silver platter. All of Israel is watching, waiting to see what kind of leader you'll be. Now, picture this. One decision, one moment of pride, and it all crumbles before your eyes. This is the story of King Rehoboam, a man whose arrogance turned a united kingdom into a divided disaster. What would make a king ignore wisdom, dismiss compassion, and choose harshness over unity? Why did he trade a legacy of peace for a reign of rebellion? Stick around, because this story isn't just about a king, it's a mirror for the choices we make when pride takes the wheel. The lessons from Rehoboam's mistake might just save you from your own downfall. The coronation day was supposed to be the moment Rehoboam solidified his place as king over all Israel. The people gathered at Shechem, their voices buzzing with anticipation. This wasn't just a celebration, it was an opportunity. But instead of securing unity, Rehoboam's pride set the stage for chaos. As the crowd waited, representatives approached the newly crowned king with a simple, heartfelt request. "Your father, Solomon, placed a heavy yoke on us," they said. "Lighten this burden, and we will serve you faithfully." It was a reasonable request. Solomon's wealth and grandeur had come at a price: high taxes and forced labor. The people weren't asking for a complete overhaul, just a lighter hand. This was Rehoboam's moment to win their loyalty, to show wisdom like his father once did. But instead of deciding immediately, Rehoboam asked for 3 days to consider their plea. Behind the scenes, two groups offered him conflicting advice. First, the elders, seasoned advisors who had served under Solomon, spoke with caution and wisdom. "If today you serve the people, speak kindly to them, and meet their request, they will serve you forever," they counseled. But Rehoboam wasn't impressed. Serve the people? That didn't sound like the kind of authority he wanted to project. His mind turned to his peers, young men who had grown up with him, men who shared his thirst for power and his disdain for humility. "Tell the people this," his friends suggested with smug grins. "My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. If my father laid a heavy burden on you, I will make it even heavier. My father disciplined you with whips, I will discipline you with scorpions." It was bold. It was harsh. And it was foolish. 3 days later, Rehoboam faced the people once again. Instead of extending an olive branch, he unleashed his arrogance. "You think my father was tough," he spat. "I'll show you real strength." The crowd fell silent. His words were like stones, heavy and painful. The murmurs of unrest turned into shouts of defiance. "What share do we have in David? To your tents, O Israel," they cried. The kingdom, once united under David and Solomon, fractured in an instant. 10 tribes broke away, forming the northern kingdom of Israel under Jeroboam, leaving Rehoboam with only Judah and Benjamin. Rehoboam, blinded by his pride, didn't see the split coming. He thought strength meant domination, not service. His decision to follow the advice of his reckless friends led to a divided kingdom, centuries of conflict, and the eventual downfall of both Israel and Judah. King Rehoboam's downfall began the moment he misunderstood leadership. When faced with the people's plea for relief, he saw their request as a threat to his authority rather than an opportunity to serve. The elders wisely counseled him to serve the people, promising that this act of kindness would ensure their loyalty. But Rehoboam's pride refused to entertain the idea of service, leading him to choose domination instead. True leadership isn't about wielding power over others but about meeting their needs and earning their respect. Jesus exemplified this when he washed his disciples' feet, saying, "The greatest among you will be your servant." Matthew 23 verse 11. Serving others builds trust and fosters unity, while an authoritarian approach often breeds resentment and rebellion. In our own lives, we often face choices about how to lead, whether in the workplace, in our families, or among friends. Are we driven by the desire to dominate, or are we willing to humble ourselves and serve? Leadership through service may seem counterintuitive, but it creates a lasting impact. Rehoboam's failure to serve fractured his kingdom, leaving a divided legacy. His story challenges us to examine our leadership styles and to ask, are we seeking to elevate ourselves, or are we working to uplift others? The way we answer that question will determine the strength of our relationships and the effectiveness of our influence. Rehoboam's downfall was largely influenced by the voices he chose to heed. On one hand, he had the wisdom of the elders, seasoned advisors who understood the value of diplomacy and service. On the other, he had the reckless counsel of his peers, whose words fed his ego and encouraged harshness. By choosing to listen to those who mirrored his pride, Rehoboam set himself on a path of destruction. The voices we allow to influence us can determine the trajectory of our lives. Proverbs 13 verse 20 warns, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." When we surround ourselves with wise, godly counsel, we are more likely to make decisions that lead to peace and prosperity. But when we align ourselves with people who encourage arrogance, impulsiveness, or selfishness, the consequences can be devastating. In our own decision-making, we must ask, who are we listening to? Are we seeking advice from those with experience, wisdom, and our best interests at heart? Or are we drawn to voices that simply affirm our desires, regardless of the long-term impact? Rehoboam's story reminds us that the company we keep and the advice we follow will either build or break our future. Choose wisely, for those voices will echo in the results of your decisions. Rehoboam's pride was his greatest downfall. When the elders offered him sound advice, he dismissed it because it didn't align with his desire to assert dominance. Pride convinced him that appearing strong in the eyes of his peers was more important than fostering unity among his people. Pride often blinds us to the wisdom right in front of us. Proverbs 16 verse 18 states, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." When we allow our ego to take control, we close ourselves off to correction and insight. This blindness can lead to decisions that not only harm us but also those around us. Rehoboam's refusal to humble himself and consider the needs of his people led to the division of a kingdom. What could have been an opportunity for reconciliation and loyalty became a moment of rebellion and loss. In our own lives, pride can manifest in different ways, refusing to apologize, ignoring feedback, or insisting on our way. But humility opens the door to growth, understanding, and stronger relationships. Rehoboam's story is a sobering reminder. Pride may feel empowering in the moment, but it often leaves destruction in its wake. Choosing humility instead can transform challenges into opportunities for connection and success. Rehoboam's harsh response to the people's request for relief was a pivotal moment in his downfall. Instead of meeting them with empathy and understanding, he escalated their frustration by promising even greater burdens. His words were not just dismissive, they were antagonistic, breaking the fragile bond between ruler and people. Harshness often has this effect in relationships. Proverbs 15 verse 1 tells us, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Whether in leadership, friendships, or family dynamics, how we respond to others can determine whether conflicts are resolved or escalated. Rehoboam's harshness didn't just damage his relationship with his people, it destroyed trust and led to rebellion. 10 tribes of Israel rejected his authority, forming a separate kingdom. His decision to rule with an iron fist alienated those who might have supported him if he had chosen kindness. In our interactions, we face similar choices. Do we respond with empathy and grace, or do we let our frustration dictate our tone? Harshness may feel satisfying in the moment, but it often causes long-term damage that is difficult to repair. Rehoboam's story challenges us to prioritize gentleness and compassion in our relationships. A little kindness can go a long way in building trust and fostering unity. Rehoboam's decision to reject the people's request wasn't just foolish, it was short-sighted. He prioritized appearing strong in the moment over securing loyalty for the future. His harshness may have satisfied his ego temporarily, but it led to a permanent fracture of the kingdom. This is a common trap. When we make decisions based on immediate gratification or the desire to prove a point, we often fail to consider the long-term impact. Rehoboam's inability to see beyond the present moment cost him the loyalty of his people and the unity of his nation. Ecclesiastes 7 verse 8 reminds us, "The end of a matter is better than its beginning, and patience is better than pride." Wise decision-making requires looking beyond the immediate to consider the lasting effects of our choices. In our lives, short-term thinking can manifest in various ways, reacting impulsively, neglecting responsibilities, or prioritizing personal gain over collective good. Rehoboam's story is a sobering reminder that such choices can have far-reaching consequences. Instead, we should strive to adopt a long-term perspective, weighing the impact of our actions on ourselves and others. When we do, we're more likely to make decisions that build legacies of peace, unity, and trust. Rehoboam's story ends not with triumph but with a fractured kingdom, a divided legacy, and a reign overshadowed by his unwise choices. His arrogance cost him the unity his grandfather David fought to establish and the peace his father Solomon worked to maintain. What could have been a golden opportunity to strengthen his rule and build a legacy of service became a cautionary tale of pride, short-sightedness, and misplaced trust. Yet, in Rehoboam's failure lies a powerful lesson for us all. His story reminds us of the incredible responsibility that comes with leadership, the importance of listening to wise counsel, and the destructive power of pride. It challenges us to reflect on our own lives, our decisions, and the way we interact with others. Are we willing to serve rather than dominate? Do we seek wisdom over ego? Are we thinking beyond the moment to consider the long-term impact of our actions? These questions echo through Rehoboam's story, urging us to learn from his mistakes and choose a different path. The divided kingdom of Israel may be a tragic end to Rehoboam's reign, but it can be the beginning of wisdom for us. Let his story inspire us to lead with humility, respond with kindness, and make decisions guided by godly wisdom. As we close, remember this: the choices we make today shape the legacy we leave tomorrow. Let's choose wisely, leaning not on our own understanding but seeking the wisdom and grace of God. For in doing so, we can avoid the pitfalls of pride and build a legacy that glorifies Him.